Welcome back to the Wealth Blueprint Brick by Brick, featuring your hosts from the Sapphire Group, Marissa and Jessica. So, Marissa, what are we getting started into today?
So we're now in September, so we're approaching the fall, and you and I have been saying basically for like the last 6 months that wait till the fall market's gonna bring, a surge of activity. And with the variable rate down, was it last week? Last week,
Yeah.
right? We've been seeing a lot of activity. I'm sure your phone has been ringing. We're getting a lot of DMs on Instagram. And so now that we're here, we kind of just want to talk about what's happening. So I'm predicting that freehold prices have officially bottomed out in the GTA. So not condos. Condos is totally separate, but I think freehold properties, like we've seen the bottom of it, and they might not increase from here, but it's not going to go down. It might just kind of be, stable at this price. And I don't think a lot of people know this, that October and November historically have been some of the better months in terms of prices. So if you look at the last 29 years of data that we have for prices, there's been 29 years of it, okay? So May obviously is the biggest month. So 9 out of all the 29 years, the highest price in that year was May, then followed by April. But in October and November, they make out together, 9. So October, November together, 9 of the 29 years were October, November prices, and the other 14 was April and May combined. So 31% of the time, October, November have the best prices. So we already have the seasonality working for us, and now with the decrease of interest rates, I think we're going to see a big fall session. There's obviously a lot of inventory in the market that needs to be absorbed before prices follow, but we can already see the activity there.
So I think I'm going to disagree with you. Not on the data,
Okay.
but I don't think people are jumping in as fast as I thought they would be. Remember in February when people were jumping in and they were like, yes, we're going to buy all these properties. We're seeing so many offers. There's so much inventory. I agree with you on I think, yes, this is the lowest detached will probably go. But I think people that are getting desperate are just selling things for things that, like, I would never sell for. I would never let my clients sell for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I showed you yesterday, that property in Brampton, 4 bedrooms, 2 fully renovated basement, 2 bedrooms in the basement. And what did it go for? 1.18 million. And that's my parents' area.
Yeah, but I don't think that's like an isolated case. I think that's been happening like all year. There's lots of great deals that's been on the market, and I think that we're going to continue seeing some great deals, but I think they're going to be less and less on the market because now there's just more demand. There's still so much more supply, and the supply still exceeds the demand. And it's going to take some time for that to match up, but I think we're going to slowly get there because I think sales are going to start to ramp up, and that's why I think prices are not going to rebound so quickly like some people are saying, because there's just so much inventory, right? But I think that was an amazing deal. Whoever got that house,
oh, that agent is killer.
like, unless that house does not show well at all, which I don't think so.
No, it was a beautiful
nice home,
house.
right?
Like, it was 74 days on market, but I will say the data makes all the sense. It's just everyone's struggling. And when you've been struggling for so long, you've probably gone into so much more debt to be able to, add up to your mortgage, be able to pay all those extra bills of everything. And so people are going to be way more hesitant. And I don't think till we see that final drop that everyone's waiting for, or when people are saying, it's going to go to 2.5 next year by the end of next year, they're like, going to wait for that. Mm-hmm. And they probably have horrible advice to say, like, yeah, we're going to wait for that. But then prices are going to skyrocket for that point. So finding that balance in that middle, I feel like we'll see it spring of next year.
Yeah, I think spring is when we're going to see prices to increase. I think fall is going to have a big numbers for sales. I really think that. I think right now there's been a lot of pent up demand. I think there's still more pent up sellers. I think there's a lot of sellers that have been just struggling to hold on, and they're like, let's just wait until we can get a little bit more money. I think there's a lot of people in that same boat that I think they're going to start coming on the market too, right in the fall. So I think spring is going to be a good time. There's going to be a lot of sales. I think prices are going to start to increase, and then by the end of next year, I think we're going to be right back where we were
100%.
in peak pandemic.
Connecting to this, I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about was mortgage rates and where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So on September 4th, we saw the basis points go down by 25 points yet again. And this was something that we expected. And just recently, we saw that bond yields are going down as well. And so there's an expectation, the next two rate cuts are also going to be going down.
Yeah.
But as we said in our last podcast, and Marissa, you gave me this, we thought it was going to be taking the elevator up, but the stairs down.
Yeah.
But nope, it's full, like the elevator has dropped.
Yeah.
And so you have to really think about what kind of state of economy we're in right now for us to be pushing down rates this much. Like, we're in for a scare.
We're in a recession.
Our country's doing horribly.
Yeah, I agree. And there's like a mortgage rate war going on amongst the big banks. Everyone's looking to preserve their market share. So Dave McKay, who is the RBC's chief executive, he confessed himself publicly that they are battling it out with other big banks, and he said that these are his words, that it is historic and intense competition. So RBC is the country's biggest lender, right? And their mortgage business is only earning 1/3 of what it used to.
And this is after they took over HSBC, which was like one of the prime, like lowest lenders too.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so right now if you like look on their sites, you'll see like the published rates, and that's the published rates, but people are actually, like, the banks are offering much more steeper discounts. I've heard, like, anecdotally that some banks are offering 5-year below 4%, which we haven't seen in like over 2 years. A lot of people are getting 3-year fixed for 4.5%. So these are like decent rates.
And that's why we keep telling people this is the prime time to buy. Like, you're in a situation where you could just put in a long closing. And of course, we have other tips that if you work with us, we'll tell you. But this is a prime time. So don't just settle with one offer that, I always go with National Bank. I always go with TD Bank. So I'm just going to agree. Shop around. Like, it's literally like price matching, right?
Yeah.
Take it to different people and then say, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? Can you give me cash back? But also read the fine print.
Yeah, I would say a mortgage agent is your best friend right now, because you don't have to shop around yourself, because that could take some time. Mortgage agents literally do this as a living, and if you go with a really well respected and recommended one, they can find you an amazing deal right now, because they have those relationships already, right?
Exactly. So cash back, lower rates. I mean, I'm still team variable. And you would think I have learned my lesson after failing for this long, but rates are going to go down. So, like, for me, I wouldn't fix it yet.
So I think it really depends. Like, if you can get an amazing rate, if you can get like 3.75% fixed for 5 years, do it. Like, my opinion, do it, because it's because it's gonna be a while till variable hits that rate. And in that time, you're going to be saving so much money. And then if you really wanted, let's say variable drops to 3%, at that point, you probably only have like a year and a half on your mortgage left. And then you could flip over to variable. Yes, it comes with a penalty. But at that point, you probably would have saved enough money. Obviously, you'd have to do the math and you would have to predict it. But like, Canadians tend to favor the fix because they're not too much of a risk takers. So if you want to have peace of mind that you know what your payments are going to be, then I would say if you can get 3.75%, do it, like, because it's going to be close. It's like you'd have to really math it out to see what fares better, and at least you know that there's stability there.
Well, that's a really good point, because if anyone has fixed their mortgages and they were at the 6% or the 6.5s or whatever it went up to, you should actually do the math, and she's really good at it, and see if that means that, you should break it, and see if the cost savings in the future are actually better, because that's what I did. I didn't want to pay $5,000 when rates were, I think 2%, and then I ended up paying like 6% because I stuck to my variable. So I would strongly advise, that's a big recommendation by us. If you do have fixed rates now, even if you're looking to break that and see what the cost savings are, you should definitely look into that.
Yeah, it's always good to do your homework. And I do want to say one thing, with all these rate wars going on right now, you need to be aware of some of these rates, because some of them are coming at a cost. So they might say, oh, this is an amazing rate, and you might think it is, but you really need to read the fine print, with, like Jessica said, because some of them aren't allowing you to refinance or port your mortgage after. And you might think that you're staying in this house for 3 years, 5 years, whatever your term is, but the reality is things change. You might need to relocate. You might have like life happens, right? And so you need to have that flexibility because you don't want to be hit with a $20,000 fine when you go to break it if you don't have that porting option.
And now's the time that you have the ability to bargain with banks. They don't have the upper hand.
Yes.
So just get everything you want. Like we always negotiate.
Yes, exactly.
Now, in terms of negotiations, there's something else you want to talk about.
Which one?
I don't know. You go for it.
Okay, so you probably heard in the news that the NDP has officially ended the supply and confidence deal that they had with the Liberals. So the NDP basically promised to vote with the minority Liberal government on budgets and other matters of confidence, as long as the Liberals would push forward some of the key priorities that the NDP had. And a lot of things got done in the favor of the NDP that they wanted, like dental care, national pharmacare, the anti-scab legislation. But Jagmeet was unhappy with what's been happening. He thinks that the people needed more. And then one of the major hurdles that the Canadians are facing, or basically that the NDP is facing, is that the Liberals are too beholden, he said, by corporate greed, and that is driving up the cost of groceries and housing. So that's what put an end to their supply and confidence deal.
Yeah. I think he just threw a tantrum. Like the government has I'm not in favor of the Liberals, I'll start with that. Mm-hmm. But you've gotten your national pharmacare program. You've gotten the dental care program. There's supposed to be food in schools for kids. And so these things were happening. And like my dad is going to be on that dental program, right? Mm-hmm. And like, why are you doing this? Because logistically in my head, if you're going to pull out of this, which means basically you're trying to forge an election to happen earlier than next fall.
So that's what I thought. And I think a lot of people are speculating that. But when I started to do a little bit more research into it, actually, if there was to be an election right now, like the NDP is not favored at all. Like they're actually gone down in the polls way more than the Liberals. So they actually don't want an election to happen right now.
So either the strategic mindset of my head is either he's doing this because he's trying to build himself up because maybe like some stronghold NDPers are saying, you know what, like he's really moved away. He's moving closer to the Liberals. He's more in the middle. We've lost but either way, you're still not winning. Yeah. So by doing this right now, you're actually pushing the Conservatives even more higher in the polls, and that's actually what you don't want.
Yeah, I think also like Justin Trudeau is probably the most hated Canadian, and I think maybe Jagmeet doesn't want to associate with himself with Justin Trudeau. Maybe that's what he believes is hurting, his party. I'm not sure. I don't know what the reason actually is behind all this. I guess we can only speculate, right?
Okay, but Justin Trudeau's national campaign manager quit.
Yes, I saw that.
I respect that man because he said, like, you're not going to win.
Yeah,
like, why am I going to waste my time? And it's true, right? Yeah. Like, so either step down and put in someone in power that you can build up for a year and save your Liberal votes. But, like, I don't understand any of these men and what they're doing. Like, I don't understand any of it. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense. The only rationalization I can have is Jagmeet's trying to pave his own way and not be grouped in with the Liberals. But at the end of the day, you're still creating, like, he did at the end of his speech say, like, the bigger problem we have to tackle is all the cuts Conservatives are going to do, which is true, but you're kind of feeding your way into saying, like, all right, now more votes are going to go into this, because if Justin Trudeau comes back and says, you know what, we're not going to fund those programs, he's going to lose anyways. Yeah. So then who really loses out?
Yeah, because definitely right now the Conservatives are going to win, and Pierre Poilievre is trying to push for a fall election, and the only way for that to happen, apparently, is if the Bloc Québécois does that. So right now, the Bloc Québécois is in a really, they have an opportunity right now, so they can take advantage. So right now, they're actually trying to wheel and deal with the Liberals and try to get some of their policies pushed. Yeah, because they're like, all right, NDP's out, I'm getting in.
No way. Yeah. Well, it's smart.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, but they also don't want it. Apparently, it's not in their favor to have a fall election either right now, because they're trying to, upgrade their campaign and get more votes. So they're trying to push for an election next year instead. So I think they might do some deals with the Liberals.
Damn, politics.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have enough seats to still, over the minority government, get them where they need to be. I mean, but it's something we can look into. Mm-hmm. Damn, politics. It's fun. So speaking of not so fun, international students have declined in Canada.
Yeah.
What was it?
45% drop.
45% drop. And this is due to the minister, saying that we need to put a cap on it. We need to reduce this in order to ensure, our services like healthcare, housing weren't feeling the restraints. But somebody is feeling the restraints, and that's post-secondary institutions.
Yeah. So when the minister announced it in January, he predicted that there would only be a 35% drop in students. And obviously, like, the full numbers are not in, but it's looking more like 45%. So it's much more heavier than the anticipated. And he thought it was going to reduce it by 35% over the next 2 years. It's going to be 45%, maybe even more by the end of this year, which is huge. So yeah, obviously post-secondary institutions are feeling it. That's a big source of income. And guess what? That income helps not only to educate international students, but local Canadians as well. And if we're not bringing in some of this great talent from overseas, then our future is we're gonna feel that in the future. We're not gonna have the best talent for all the jobs that we need.
Yeah, and I think I'm very passionate about this. Government never forecasts ahead. If you cut, so domestic students pay let's say $7,000, and international students, depending on where you are, can pay up to 3 to 10 times more, right? Mm-hmm. So I think one of the schools was $7,000 for domestic students and $56,000 for international students, which if your sole purpose to exist as an institution is to count on international students to be funding you, then I think you have a funding model problem as well. That shouldn't be the case because you never know. But the problem was everyone's don't come to Canada, international students are ruining our country. So then why are people going to come here? And it was so much uncertainty. So why would they accept universities here? Mm-hmm. So now what really needs to be done. So there's this organization called Universities Canada that's the vocal, organization for universities. And what they said is the government actually needs to be focusing on a rebuilding campaign to get these students back in, because we're going to be seeing this for years to come. And then the repercussions are going to happen for the next decade. So for example, in universities now, it's not only budgets that are cut, but jobs are being lost. Yeah. So you already have people that are working in institutions that can't afford, their mortgage, their bills and everything, but now they're losing their jobs. So did you actually forecast this when you were going to cut this?
And I haven't done the full research on this, but what I heard is that there was a lot of fake institutions being put forth in order to basically, basically speed up the process of getting work permits. And so that's when we were letting in a ton of international students, but they weren't actually studying here. Basically, it was just a person that created this fake institution as a cash grab to bring in students, and that way they can just get right into the workforce. So I think the minister could have done a better job in basically saying, okay, only certain institutions could do this. They have to be more vetted. They can't, me and you can't just create the Sapphire institution and then
maybe we could.
Maybe we could. But you know what I mean? It needs to be more regulated. And like I said, I haven't done the full research, so maybe I'm missing something, and this is what I kind of heard anecdotally, but we need the talent, and there's lots of job openings that we're unable to bring in the right people for, and I think it just needs to be a much more vetted process, because yes, the whole purpose for the minister to do this was because it's been putting a strain on our housing system. Rental prices surged like crazy. People were renting beds. People are probably still renting beds, so we're still facing the repercussions, and I get it. Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah. And so I understand why they did it, but I think they could have just done a better job of planning it so that now institutions are feeling it. They need to think of everything that's going to be affected by all the moves that they make.
Yeah, it's just they lack that critical skill time and time again.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. Anyone that has a business mindset, they're going to see, okay, the government's coming up with this grant. Now, how can I make money off that grant, and how can I build something to do that? Sapphire Institute can be a thing, right?
Yeah.
We would just see a specific policy change and be like, okay, there's a need, so how can we follow through with that? But time and time again, it's let's let all this, a wave of immigration in, which is going to cause racism in the country, but it's because of the government's lack of planning that we are in the issue that we're in right now. So there's going to be strain on healthcare. There's going to be a strain of rental. So why didn't you work with the universities or colleges and build another school specifically for it? It's just a continuous lack of planning of why we're in the situation we're in. And I know I'm of the minority that says this, but it's not just the Liberal government. It's been governments for years and ages that have done this, and that's why we're in the mess we're in. So no one can really solve it, but maybe we can.
Yeah, it just kind of blows my mind that they don't do all these consultation calls before they make these decisions. We have so much staff for the government? Like, isn't there enough people that can put their heads together and figure this out?
So they probably do. They just don't listen to them. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when it comes to politics and winning elections, you just have to say or do certain things, and then you're like, oh, we'll deal with the repercussions after, right? So it's like, well, landlords are going to be happy rent is going up, and people are going to be happy there's an influx. Immigration is good for a country. It means more work, more, jobs, and just more anything for anyone. But the problem is if you don't plan for it, then that's where we're in the situation we're in.
Yeah, we're just too short-sighted. We don't have that long-term vision as a country.
Yeah.
We're just like quick band-aids.
Exactly.
Constantly. Which
Quick
is
band-aids,
frustrating.
quick elections, and that's what happens when you have people for power in such a short period of time. But anyways, we might be in an election season soon.
Yeah, looking like probably the spring.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see.
We'll have to see. So if you are enjoying the content, please do us a favor by liking and subscribing. And if you need any help with your real estate portfolio, you can contact us using the link in the description. It's about a 20-minute call with Jessica and myself, and we can help you navigate the real estate market. We'll catch you on the next one.